Welcome to this online session of Building Materials and Construction 5. Today we'll be seeing about Unit 3 named Finishes. So in this session we'll be seeing about paints, and in that we'll be seeing about the types of paints. So we will start with the types of paints and we will start in alphabetical order. So we'll start with aluminium paint. So the very finely ground aluminium is suspended in either quick drying spirit varnish or slow drying oil varnish as per the requirement. The spirit or oil evaporates and a thin metallic film of aluminium is formed on the surface. So the advantages of aluminium paint are: it is visible in darkness, it resists heat of iron and steel and are better protected from corrosion by this paint than any other paint. It possesses a high covering capacity. Then it gives a good appearance to the surface. It is impervious to moisture and it also possesses high electrical resistance. So this aluminium paint is widely used for painting gas tanks, hot water pipes, marine piers, oil storage tanks and radiators. So the second type of paint that we are going to see is anti-corrosive paint. So this paint essentially consists of oil and a strong dryer. A pigment such as chromium oxide or lead or red lead or zinc chrome is taken, and after mixing it with some quantity of very fine sand, it is added to the paint. So the advantages of an anti-corrosive paint are like: it is cheap, it lasts for a long duration, and the appearance of the paint is black. So the next type of paint that we are going to see is the asbestos paint. So this is a peculiar type of paint and it is applied on the surfaces which are exposed to the acidic gases and steam. So the fourth type of paint is bituminous paint. So this paint is prepared by dissolving asphalt or mineral pitches or vegetable bitumen in any type of oil or petroleum. A variety of bituminous paints is available. The paint presents a black appearance and it is used for painting ironwork under water. So the fifth type of paint that we are going to see is the cellulose paint. So this paint is prepared from nitro-cotton, celluloid sheets, photographic films. An ordinary paint hardens by oxidation. A cellulose paint hardens by evaporation of thinning agent. It hardens very quickly. It is a little more costly, but it presents a flexible, hard and smooth surface. Also, the surface painted with cellulose paint can be washed and easily cleaned. The cellulose paint is not affected by contact with hot water and the surface can stand extreme degrees of cold and heat. So the sixth type of paint is cement paint. So this paint consists of white cement, pigment, accelerator and other additives. It is available in dry powder form. The cement paint is available in variety of shades and it exhibits excellent decorative appearance. It is waterproof and durable. It proves to be useful for surfaces which are damp at the time of painting or likely to become damp after painting. For external finish on cement plastered walls, it is mixed with water immediately before its application. It is desirable to provide cement paint on rough surface rather than on smooth surface because its adhesion power is poor on smoothly finished surface. So next we will see the advantages of cement paints. So it requires less skill and time for applying cement mortar paints, and applying implements can be cleaned with water only. The preparation of surfaces is easier in a cement paint system as it is not necessary to remove the previous coats of cement paint. They are suitable for painting fresh plasters having a high alkalinity because cement paints are not likely to be attacked by the alkalinity of masonry surfaces. So they become an integral part of the substrata and to its strength. They can be applied over new and damp walls which cannot be painted over with oil paints until they are sufficiently dried. So they prove to be economical as compared to the oil paints and they dry more rapidly than the oil paints. So we will start with the seventh type of paint, that is the colloidal paint. So no inert material is mixed in this type of paint. It requires more time to settle and in the process of settlement it penetrates to the surface. It may be used for interiors as well as for exterior walls. So the next type of paint is emulsion paint. A variety of emulsion paints is available these days. It contains binding materials such as polyvinyl acetate, synthetic resins. This paint is easy to apply and it dries quickly in about 1.5 to 2 hours. The color of the paint is retained for a long period and the surface of paint is tough and it can be cleaned by washing with water. There is absence of odor and the paint possesses excellent alkali resistance. The application of emulsion paint can be carried out either by brush or by spray gun. For long service life, it is recommended to apply 2 coats of emulsion paint. For rough cement plastered surface, a thin coat of cement paint may first be applied to smoothen the surface. It is necessary to have a sound surface to receive the emulsion paint. So next is the enamel paint. So this paint is available in different colors. It contains white lead or zinc white, oil, petroleum spirit and resinous matter. It dries slowly and forms a hard and durable surface. The surface provided with this paint is not affected by acids, alkalis, fumes of gas, hot and cold water and steam. It can be used by internal and external walls. In order to improve the appearance, it is desirable to apply a coat of titanium white in pale linseed oil before the coat of enamel paint. Graphite paint. So the paint presents a black color and it is applied on the iron surfaces with come in different contact with ammonia, chlorine, sulfur gases. It is also used in mines and underground railways. So the 11th type of paint that we are going to see is Inoderos Paint. So no turpentine is used in this paint, but white lead or zinc white is mixed with methylated spirit. The white lead or zinc white is well ground in oil. The shellac with some quantity of linseed oil and castor oil is dissolved in methylated spirit. The paint is not durable but it dries quickly. The methylated spirit evaporates and a film of shellac remains on the surface. So the next type of paint that we are going to see is luminous paint. So this paint contains a calcium sulfide with varnish. The surface on which luminous paint is applied shines like radium dials on watches after the source of light has been cut off. The paint should be applied on surfaces which are free from corrosion or any other lead paint. So the next type of paint that we will be seeing is oil paint. This is the ordinary paint and it is generally applied in 3 coats of varying composition. They are respectively termed as primers, undercoats and finishing coats. This paint is cheap and easy to apply and it possesses good opacity and low gloss. It should be remembered that the oil paint should not be applied during the humid and damp weather. The presence of dampness on wall surface also considerably affects the life of oil paint coating. It is advisable to redecorate these surfaces finished with oil paint with a coat of fresh paint only. So the layer of old oil paint serves as a foundation for the fresh paint. So the next type of paint that we are going to be seeing is the plastic paint. The paint contains a necessary variety of plastic and it is available in the market under different trade names. The application of plastic paint can be done by brush painting or by spray painting. The paint possesses pleasing appearance and it is attractive in color. This paint is widely used for showrooms and auditoriums. So the plastic emulsion paints were introduced in our country in 1955 or so and they are becoming more and more popular day by day. An emulsion is a liquid having fine suspended particles of a substance. For plastic emulsion paints, the emulsion is composed of plastic components such as vinyl acetate and acrylate which are held in water. So when the paint dries, the water evaporates and a film of binders, pigments and other solids is left behind. So 1 liter of plastic emulsion paints covers about 15 square meter of wall surface per coat. For interior jobs, 2 coats of paint are sufficient, each coat having a thickness of 0.04 mm. So next we will see some important guidelines for the use of plastic emulsion paints. So the first one is application. So it is observed that the plastic emulsion paints are widely used for interior jobs in our country because they cannot resist effectively the attack of paints such as salts, dust, gases carried by air, sunlight, rain and rise and fall of temperatures. So next is the base surface. So the success of paint will depend on the quality of plaster and the characteristics of the base surface. The surface to be painted should be cleaned of all dust particles and rubbed with sandpaper if necessary. The leveling putty should be applied if required. So the third one is about brushes. So the application of these paints should be done with clean brushes or sponge rollers. These paints possess good flow properties and hence the brush marks are automatically leveled up, giving beautiful, uniform and washable surface in a short time. So the next is the color of paints. If dark color plastic emulsion paints are required, they should be used as made by the manufacturers. For light color paints, a white emulsion with certain other colors known as the tinters may be added to the paints made by the manufacturers. So the next is about diluting the paint. So these paints are usually supplied with thick consistency, and for diluting the paints, the instructions given by the manufacturer should be strictly followed. In a general way, it can be stated that half liter extra water will be required for the first coat and quarter liter extra water will be required for the second coat. So the next is about metallic surfaces. These paints are water based and hence they are not suitable for metallic surfaces. These paints are not water repellent and it is likely that some fungus growth may develop in unfavorable circumstances. So the next is moisture resistance. So these paints allow moisture to evaporate through minute pores, but even then it is desirable to allow 4 months, preferably 1 year for moisture to escape from fresh masonry and fresh plaster. So the next is about the nature of the surface. The plastic binders need not require a rough surface for adhesion and they even stick to a smooth surface. However, the initial roughening of surface before the application of first coat is necessary to remove dust and salts. A good plastic emulsion paint would not color a moist cloth when rubbed on the painted surface. So the next is about the thickness of coat. So the thickness of coat should be neither too thin nor it should be too thick. In fact, it must possess elasticity to match the stresses in plaster and should not separate out from the surface. However, the film of paint can be made durable by thickening in successive coats and not in one coat at a time. So the last one is washing. It is desirable to wash the painted surfaces with wet cloth lightly at least once in a month. If this precaution is not taken, the dust particles would adhere to the surface and the paint may lose its good appearance. So the next type of paint that we are going to be seeing is the silicate paint. This paint is prepared by mixing calcined and finely ground silica with resinous substances. The paint when dried forms a hard surface and it is durable. It can stand extreme heat and it adheres firmly to brickwork also. It is not affected by alkalis. No chemical reaction takes place on metals by this paint. The dryer used in this paint should be of special silicate dryer type. So the silicate paint can be directly applied on brick, plaster or concrete surfaces. These surfaces should be made wet before the paint is applied. So 2 to 3 coats of silicate paint are recommended and it is not necessary to have a priming coat. The tool which is used to apply silicate paint should be immediately cleaned with water after use. The surfaces should not be painted in silicate paint in hot weather. So the last type of paint that we are going to be seeing is the synthetic rubber paint. So this paint is prepared from resins. It has the advantages like it offers good resistance to the water and it is not affected by heavy rains. It dries quickly. A uniform color is maintained when this paint is applied on the surface. It is little affected by weather and sunlight. It can be applied on surfaces which may not be completely dry like fresh concrete. It is moderate in cost and it covers a sizable area. It is easy to apply on the surface. It possesses excellent chemical resisting properties. So that's all about the types of paints. So in this session we saw the different type of paints such as aluminium paint, anti-corrosive paint, asbestos paint, bituminous paint, cellulose paint, cement paint, colloidal paint, emulsion paint, enamel paint, graphite paint, Inoderos paint, luminous paint, oil paint, plastic paint, silicate paint and synthetic rubber paint. Thank you.